Well, hey y'all, and thanks for joining us today. I have a special treat. I have a friend whom I've recently met at the farmers market, our local farmers market. We here at Heritage Ways love to celebrate and promote heritage, American heritage, and personally for our family, our Christian heritage, and our ancestral heritage. And so there's so many ways we could think about that. So when I met this beautiful lady, I asked her if she would mind talking to us a little bit about her heritage, because I think you're going to enjoy her story, and then we're going to tell you about her products that I really want you to consider when you're doing your Christmas shopping this year, because her products are absolutely top notch and I'm really enjoying using them myself. So yeah, if you just tell us your name and the name of your business.
Alright, my name's Christina and my business is Luster and Lore, and I make all natural soy candles. They're hand poured. I make them all myself in my kitchen. I love it. It's like a big fun science project.
If you don't mind kind of telling us the history, it's Luster and Lore.
Yeah.
Oh, and before we forget, can you tell us your website?
Yeah, it's www.lusterandlore.com.
Right.
And the end is spelled out.
Okay, so if you could just tell us your history and maybe you could show them some pictures or whatever. This is awesome.
So I have a master's degree in history and American studies, so I love history. I love family history. And when I was a kid, my mom and my grandmother and I would go to Bannock, Montana. They have Bannock days, so it's like a living history.
Now, Bannock?
Bannock, B-A-N-N-A-C-K.
That's a city, a town.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a small town in Montana.
Okay.
So we would go to Bannock, and they would have the saloon hall girls and the piano that you put a quarter in and it plays by itself.
Fun old-timey stuff.
And they would have, like the old western shootouts, because it was an old
awesome.
gold mining town.
Oh,
a ghost town now, but
that really is awesome. My kids would love that.
like that's where I grew up in Montana, not in that part of Montana, but we would always go to ghost towns, and that's my favorite history.
Wow, that is, and that sparked your interest in history and heritage and American heritage.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate. Yeah.
So we would go, and they would have candle dipping, which is they would just take crayons and melt some wax that they just probably got from a craft store.
Yeah.
And then you would dip it and do it like the old school way, where you would just dip it and keep dipping it.
I've seen that.
Until you had a taper candle, which is a really old way to make candles.
Yeah.
But so I did that and I loved it. And then, fast forward to when I graduate with my graduate degree, I like making homemade Christmas presents. I'm not sure my whole family likes them from me, but I like
I bet they do, especially nowadays.
But so I was trying to test out different candle stuff and doing a whole bunch of research, and because I wanted to make candles, but I wanted to make good, healthy candles, and sustainable, recycled products and materials, and no chemicals whatsoever. And so I just started testing them out, and I made the candles.
This is what you
And then you fast forward a few years, and people kept saying, "Oh, you really need to sell these. I love them so much." And my friends just kept asking me to make more.
Oh,
and
I love that.
When I was pregnant but not working, before I had my baby, I thought, I'm such a worker that I just couldn't sit still.
Right. Oh, I get that.
Even though I was at home, I had to be doing something.
Yes,
so
I get that.
I started a business.
Yes, that's awesome.
I started the business part of it because I tried to figure out what to call it. And we had a few different names before we stuck with Luster and Lore. But I knew it had to be something history, just because of my historical background.
Right.
And I was talking to my grandmother, and she said, "You know what? One of your ancestors was a candle maker." And I went, "What?
That's awesome."
And so she
that
told me. That
sweetens the deal.
I know. So she told me about one of my ancestors who she thought was the candle maker, and all about him. And so I was like, well, now I have to have history in the name, so the lore, that's where the lore part came from, and luster from the candles.
Sure.
Like the shine of them.
Right.
So that's how it came about. And my grandmother thought it was a guy
Here, I can hold one for you.
Charles Ziegler. That is
Charles Ziegler.
That's who my grandmother thought was the candle maker. But, you know, with family lore, sometimes it's not always
Yeah,
true.
right.
And she had it really close. It was his wife's husband who was the candle maker.
Wait, his wife's husband.
His wife's father.
His father-in-law.
Yes.
Okay, so how did you find that out ultimately?
Through my other family members who like to do genealogy too. Found the 1850 census, which actually I have.
Okay, now this is what location?
This is Montana. It's outside of Twin Bridges, Montana.
Is where he lived.
Yes.
Or these
there was
people.
a tiny town called Rochester, Montana, that's no longer there. And it was a gold town. It wasn't a very successful gold mining town, so they actually ended up doing other stuff in the town. They have a mill there, or had a mill there. And there was an area, a hot springs right outside of Rochester. Charles Ziegler built Ziegler Hot Springs.
Okay,
outside,
and that's this guy?
Yes. Outside of Rochester, Montana. And he had this hotel and several cabins and a farm, and he and his family lived there and operated the hot springs.
That is neat.
And he was a farmer. Yeah. And
he was a farmer.
Yes, he
apparently
was a farmer.
builder and an entrepreneur and a visionary.
And it was very successful until about the 1920s.
Now, do you know about when this picture was taken?
That's in the early 1900s.
Yeah, you can tell by the clothing and are these guests, do you think, or maybe the family?
This is Charles's daughter,
Oh,
Ethel, and the little baby that you can't really tell is my great-great-grandmother, Mabel.
Your great-great-grandmother, Mabel.
Here's another picture of Charles and his wife.
Okay.
And another daughter they have. So it was her father that was the candle maker.
Her father, Charles's father-in-law.
Yes. And his name is Andrew Protzman, but I couldn't find any pictures of him.
Andrew Protzman.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the census it says soap and candle maker. So I have a friend who's a very talented artist, Annie, and she drew the logo that you see on the candles is her depiction of that hotel.
So she's got very faint and wonderfully in the background. You've got the hotel there. And the name of this one I happened to pick up is called A Soak in the Hot Springs. Stress reliever. And now we know why the title of this candle is Soak in the Hot Springs. Oh wow. Okay. All of a sudden big bubble bath and
think like your essential
the kids
oils.
not knocking on the door. And, that's what that makes me think of.
Relaxing oils, you could put it.
Yes. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and so I like to tie in the history of the candles,
right,
with my family history.
Yes, of course.
So this is Rochester in the heyday, in its heyday.
We're talking turn of the century, late 1800s, early 1900s.
That's the winter.
And it's no longer there. I wonder, have you ever been here?
I have. I've driven through what was supposed to have been Rochester, and it wasn't. There weren't. You couldn't tell that there was a town. There were a few buildings standing.
Are you thinking you weren't at the right place, maybe?
That's what my mom said. It's what the map said. Like I was, I don't know, 9 or 10, so long before Google Maps.
Oh, yeah, I bet you could find out more information now. So this is Rochester, Montana, in its heyday when it was the gold town and kind of hot springs, and
then here's
I'm sure his hot springs brought a lot of visitors. That helped the economy. Oh, that's great too. Look at the mountains in the back. I could just melt into this photo. I could.
Here's my great-grandmother Mabel visiting the hot springs, or visiting Rochester, sorry, not the hot springs.
Okay, where was she living at the time though? She had already moved?
She had a homestead in a tiny town called Charlotte, Montana, which is where our family homestead is. There's still a road that has our family name on it.
Oh, great!
So her house was on that.
Homestead heritage.
But she went back to visit, because that's where when she was teeny tiny, a baby, and in her very, very young years, she lived at the hotel partially, and then Rochester.
Right. So your great-great-grandmother Mabel.
Yes.
Is that what you just said?
Great.
And we just saw her as a baby.
Yes.
One great, two greats. She's great.
She's great.
That reminds me. My aunt Coriel, but we called her Coco. She was my great aunt. But when I started having children, she said, "I'm getting greater all the time." So we just, we don't know how many greats.
She's
but
great.
She's a baby here,
yes.
nevertheless. And so there she is. This is awesome that you have these photos for starters. And so Rochester, where her father had
Where her grandfather.
her grandfather.
It gets confusing.
I'm sure, well, that's okay. I won't pin you down on that. But just, so homestead, and your homestead is, does somebody live in your homestead in Montana?
It's
anybody?
her house, and it's falling apart now.
That makes me want to drive there and see it for you. Wow.
I have a picture of it when she was living there.
Does anybody live on the farm, on the land?
Yes.
Oh, look at
This is Mabel's property.
Mabel's property, and look at the background.
Yeah, that's
look at her view.
And that's where I grew up, not in her homestead, but in the town next door.
Do you remember her? I mean,
I was really small.
Really?
When I visited that homestead, and I just remember the chickens coming after me.
Yeah. yeah.
I forget how old I was when she passed away, but I was very young. I think 5.
Yeah.
Around there.
Do you have a chicken memory?
Yes.
You don't have chickens now, do you?
No.
Because
I
of
want
Mabel's
chickens.
chicken. Oh, you still want them?
Yeah.
So they didn't turn you against them.
No.
Okay.
And
but
she had an outhouse. She didn't have a real bathroom.
Right.
I remember that. I had to go to the outhouse.
So she probably didn't have running water, maybe, or.
I don't remember that part. But she had one of those stoves, like the old. I forget what brand she had.
A wood stove, or
a wood stove with a big pipe. Going
oh yeah,
outside
yeah.
She still used.
Yes. Well, we've got friends who use those.
Yeah.
In fact, my Mr. Patient and I, that's actually what we planned. I was telling you a while ago off camera that we planned a homestead after we full time, and we're wanting to seriously go less grid, probably not off grid, but and see, I personally can stand to cook on a wood stove, but maybe not in the summertime.
Yeah.
But
well, maybe it does depend where you end up, because if you're up north.
Yeah, if I were in Montana, see, I know.
Yeah. But this is like Charlotte area, Ronan, Montana, Polson, Montana.
Okay.
These are the Mission Mountains.
Mission Mountains. I'll have to look at my map, see what you're talking about.
It's up close to Glacier.
Okay. That's just, I mean, so she lived there all her life. No wonder. Who would want to move?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I like to name, well, memories evoke so much.
Yes.
You know, I can still, like, if I think about my elementary school, I can still smell, like, the sandwiches being made as you'd go down the hallway till your lunchtime. I don't know.
Tell me you don't have a candle that smells like a cafeteria.
I don't.
I'm teasing.
Whenever I think of which candles to do, of course I think of what I would like, but that's why my husband is good, because he can, tell me, oh no, you should have a candle that smells like this, and I'll make it and smell it and be like, oh no, that's not. He says, no, people will like it, and he's usually right.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but I like to mix together scents that remind me of things. So when my grandmother passed away, this most recent February, I knew I had to make a candle in honor of her. And this is my grandmother. This is her. She's such a...
What is her name?
Rita.
Yeah. And she's the one that told you
Yes.
that you have an ancestor who is a candle maker.
Yeah.
Rita. Your maternal grandmother? Your mom's mother?
And she is Mabel's daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, so Mabel's your great grandmother then.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. This is awesome, Rita.
So when when I was little, we would go to Bannock. We would always stop on the side of the road because it was quite a drive. And in Montana, there's long stretches without gas stations or houses or anything. So we would stop on the side of the road, just pull over, and there would be all these sage bushes, and it would smell so good. And she would tear a branch off of the sage bush, and we would put it in the car, and she would put some of it right above where she was driving at the visor area. And so whenever I smell sage, I think of her. Whenever I'd visit her house, it always reminded me of a lemon smell.
Okay.
And I don't know what I was thinking of what to make for her. I knew sage had to be it, and then in the candle, and then I found the lemongrass that smelled most like what I smelled at her house. So I mixed them together, and then this one is one that I made for her funeral. We made for all of the family members. So it's a lemongrass and sage candle.
What a precious idea.
Yeah. And so all of the people who went to her funeral got one of the candles. And of course they don't have the same memories of her.
I love this. Right,
Yeah.
right.
But
Well, that's okay. And
so
I love this.
this one in the store with the candles, the online store, it's called Montana Summer.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but a lemongrass and sage mix.
Montana Summer.
I volunteered for a year at Heifer International, and so I was taught a ton about sustainability and, all of what they promote. And so that really sunk into me. And I was all about recycling and reusing before that, but that made me even more 100% as much as I could be, everything organic, natural. So the wax I use for this is a natural wax that's grown in America. So there's a few different candle wax companies.
Or is it beeswax, you mean? Or is that
It's soy
what kind of
wax.
a soy wax? Okay.
Yeah, so all the soybeans are grown here in America.
Okay.
And I make sure to buy from companies that help the environment.
Okay.
So whenever I buy from the company that I buy it from, they do have to ship it, which is unfortunate, but I don't live close enough to the facility to go pick it up. So they donate money back to an environmental fund every time they ship something, and they ship products in like biodegradable packaging, which I keep and reuse.
Yeah, sure.
When I package stuff.
To send off to your
yeah.
customers.
Yeah, and all of the tins are made in America, and all of the fragrances are phthalate free. I don't know. Whenever I bought the commercial candles, it would always give me a headache. And I think it's that
chemically smell.
Yeah, all of the fragrances I get are as natural as they can be. Some have essential oils in them, although that gets really expensive.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
So those I use sparingly, but it's in like the soak in the hot springs. As natural as possible. I like.
What about your wicks? Are they natural? Are
They're
they
cotton.
all natural? Cotton?
Yeah, they're cotton. We're testing wood wicks right now.
Oh,
it's just the sound of the wood wick burning is so.
There's a company that sells those, and I've always wanted to have one, and just never have.
Yeah.
I guess I thought I couldn't afford it. I've never splurged on that.
Yeah.
So.
They are more expensive.
For you to buy.
Yeah, for me. So that's why when you go to the store, they're more expensive. I want to be as a good steward of the land as I can be, and resources. So I do reuse the tins. If people bring them back, they get $1 off.
So that's
and
good for
the
local
jars
people.
Too. Yeah. I guess anything you bring back to me, I'll reuse.
So if you're local,
yeah.
take these to wherever she is.
Yeah, you can just email me.
Okay, and figure that out.
We'll figure out a meeting spot.
Okay. What did you just say?
$1 off.
She'll take $1 off a candle.
Each
one. Yeah. This one's called Percolator, by the way. Oh, this is awesome. It's almost chocolatey. I thought I almost got a whiff of.
Yeah, it's like a. I think it has a little like chocolatey caramelness.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's the different sizes. Like this is the 8 ounce.
Okay.
The 4 ounce, and this one's really good for if you're not sure you want, a whole big thing of percolator. You can get this, or if for holidays we started doing these because people weren't sure what their friends or family liked.
Right.
And so you could get a small New England holiday, and then if they like it, they can tell you, and you can get another one for them, or they can get a bigger one.
This is what I started with, and this is my favorite. And you had told me to get a small one for a smaller room, like this for a smaller room. So I use this in my bathroom upstairs, and New England Holiday, and I love it. So I went back and bought 4 of the big ones, and I'll be buying more from her too. But I love this. So what?
It's like
what
a
is this?
cranberry.
Yeah.
Like the Thanksgiving meal is how I always think of it.
And it's clean smelling. It's not off-putting. It's not fake smelling.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite scent so far.
Yeah.
It's the only one I've bought from you, but I've smelled the others, and so far that's my favorite. So that's the small one.
Yes. And then these, I call them the candy jars, the candy top jars. I don't know what they're really called.
Yeah, well.
But, you know, like the old drugstore, how like the druggist would have all those jars behind him.
Right.
And I picked the jar because I thought once you were done using it, you could put this, I don't know, in your bathroom, have cotton balls in, have Q-tips, whatever, put in your kitchen, put beans in.
Sure.
So I like
reuse it.
The look of the olden things for the modern home.
Yes. Well,
So.
I do too. Y'all know that. I do too.
So yes, these are our sizes, and we have tarts. The tart melts.
Oh, okay. The melts. Okay,
Yeah.
great. So, do you do anything for charities or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my daughter, she's just over a year old. She's hard of hearing. She can't hear conversational speech, so she has to wear hearing aids. So I've learned a ton over the past year about hearing and hearing loss and sign language.
Yeah.
So there's a nonprofit in Nashville called Bridges that has been so wonderful to us. I'm taking a sign language class there, and they're just wonderful with the deaf and hard of hearing community and their families.
Okay.
And so this
That's
one,
important.
Southern Bell,
Okay.
all of the proceeds from Southern Bell go to Bridges.
Okay.
And I named it in honor of my daughter because she was born here in the South.
Yes.
So, and it's a honeysuckle jasmine
Oh,
scent.
it is.
And
It
so,
is. Oh, so springy.
yes,
And so southern because you got the whole You're right. Honeysuckle, jasmine, so fresh.
Yes. So we just started in September donating, and we'll donate all the proceeds, I guess, until the company ends.
Okay, so all the proceeds from that scent.
From Southern Bell.
Okay.
Any of the sizes, the tarts.
Okay.
And it's early November, and we've already raised over $200.
That's great.
For them.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and people who are either have family members that are hard of hearing or they themselves see that sign, and it's a great conversation starter. Because I want my daughter to know that she's not alone.
Yes.
There's so many people in the world that are deaf or hard of hearing.
Right.
And that she shouldn't be ashamed of it. And
absolutely.
So.
Yeah, she's got a great start with you, your philosophy and attitude. I know I have a friend who works with the deaf and hard of hearing. I have a friend or two on Instagram who's one I can think of. Her daughter's deaf, and so there are struggles in that culture, deaf culture. And so this is awesome that you're doing this. So if you'd like to support an organization that helps deaf or hard of hearing, deaf community, deaf culture in Middle Tennessee, you can buy one of those. Is that mentioned on your website too?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So again, lusterandlore.com, and I'll write that down below. So, well, thank you so much for coming by. This is awesome. I love your products, and I'm going to put a link on Instagram. I would love for y'all to stop by her website and maybe do your shopping there for neighbor gifts and Sunday school teachers, anything you need a small gift for. Okay, and so stay tuned. So you're also going to see her in a special giveaway coming up for winter also. Thanks for joining us today, y'all, here as I talk to another heritage keeper. Please remember to subscribe below, and if you'll ring the little bell, it'll give you notifications to let you know when we've posted a new video. Thanks for joining us and walking life with us. See you next time.